Have you ever noticed how the most powerful man in any room is often the one who seems to need the least? Consider the quiet weight of a mountain. It doesn't ask for your attention. It doesn't adjust its peak to suit the clouds. It simply exists, massive and unmoving. And because it asks for nothing, the world is drawn to its heights. Most men spend their lives acting like the weather, frenetic, changing, trying to blow hard enough to be felt. They believe that to be noticed, they must be loud. To be loved, they must be useful. To be desired, they must be persistent. But there is a haunting truth that most men will never understand. A woman's heart is not won by the man who does the most. It is surrendered to the man who remains himself when she does the least. The air we breathe is full of noise. We live in an era of digital desperation, where every message is a plea for validation and every compliment is a hidden transaction. Most men approach a woman like they are applying for a job they aren't qualified for. They talk too much because they are afraid of the judgment that lives in the quiet. They over-explain their lives, their successes, and their intentions because they are terrified that if they stop talking, she will see the void they feel inside. But what if the greatest psychological trick is actually the death of all tricks? Imagine a man who sits in the presence of beauty and feels no urge to possess it. He doesn't lean in to catch her favor. He doesn't stumble over his words to fill a gap in the conversation. When she speaks, he listens, not like a man waiting for his turn to impress, but like a man who is already content. This is the Stoic ideal, the ability to be present without being dependent. When you stop trying to get a reaction, you accidentally become the only thing she wants a reaction from. Think about the last time someone truly looked at you. Not a glance that slides over your surface, but a gaze that anchors you. Most men look at women with hunger or with fear. One says, "I want to take from you," and the other says, "I'm afraid you'll reject me." Both are forms of weakness. But there is a third way, a gaze of calm observation. It is the look of a man who sees her exactly as she is, without the mask, and remains entirely unperturbed by what he finds. This creates a vacuum in her mind. She is used to men being mirrors of her own mood. If she is hot, they melt. If she is cold, they shiver. But when you are the thermostat, when you set the temperature of the room based on your own internal peace, she has to find her way to you. The secret isn't in a clever line or a practiced gesture. It is in the profound realization that your value is not a variable. It is a constant. Most people are terrified of being too much or not enough. They spend their energy navigating the narrow path of social approval. But the man who understands the psychology of attraction knows that humans are biologically wired to value that which is rare. And in a world of desperate pursuit, the man who can walk away and truly mean it is the rarest thing on earth. He doesn't walk away in anger. Anger is just another form of being controlled. He walks away in peace. He says with his posture and his silence, "I enjoy your company, but I do not require it for my soul to be whole." This is the moment the power shifts. This is the moment she stops being the prize and starts being the seeker. Because a woman doesn't want to be the center of a man's universe, she wants to be a beautiful part of a universe that is already magnificent. She wants to know that if the world fell apart, you would still be standing, rooted in your own mission, your own truth, and your own silence. Have you ever wondered why you remember the things people didn't say more than the things they did? It's because the words we hold back carry more weight than the ones we let fly. When you choose your words with the precision of a poet and the economy of a king, each syllable becomes an event. You don't chat, you speak. And when you speak, the world stops to listen because they know you aren't just making noise, you are revealing a piece of a world they want to inhabit. But we must go deeper into the heart of the matter. Beyond the silence, there is a specific way of being that touches the soul. It involves a willingness to be vulnerable without being weak, to say the thing that is true, even if it is uncomfortable. Most men are nice because they are cowards. They use kindness as a shield to avoid conflict, but a man of depth is kind because he is strong. He can tell her no with a smile. He can tell her, "You have disturbed my peace," with a calm voice, and in that honesty she finds a safety she can't find anywhere else. She finds a man she can trust, because if he can stand up to her, he can stand up for her. Do you have the courage to be the man who doesn't need to be liked? Because the moment you stop caring whether she likes you is the exact moment she begins to love you. It is the paradox of the human heart. We chase what retreats, and we admire what is self-sufficient. The first step into this new reality isn't a change in your vocabulary, it's a change in your heartbeat. It's learning to sit in the fire of an awkward silence and not move a muscle. It's learning that your presence is a gift, not a request for a favor. When you finally understand this, you won't need tricks. You will simply speak your truth, and the world and the woman standing in front of you will never be the same. Now ask yourself, what are you so afraid would happen if you stopped trying to impress her? In the first breath of our journey, we spoke of the power of a man's silence, the quiet gravity of a mountain that refuses to move for the wind. But as we move deeper into the forest of the human heart, we must look at what happens when the wind begins to howl. Every woman, consciously or not, will eventually test the strength of the man she is drawn to. She will push against your boundaries. She will create a sudden chill in the air. She will withdraw her warmth or offer a subtle challenge to your authority. To the uninitiated man, this feels like an attack. He feels his stomach tighten. He thinks he has done something wrong, and in his panic, he rushes to fix it. He apologizes for things he didn't do. He begs for clarity. He becomes a servant to her shifting moods. But the philosopher man knows better. He understands that these tests are not meant to destroy him. They are meant to find him. She is searching for a floor that doesn't creak when she steps on it. She is looking for a wall that won't crumble when she leans her full weight against it. If you react with emotion, you have failed the test. If you respond with a calm, observant mirror, you have won her soul. Imagine she says something designed to spark a flame of jealousy or insecurity. Perhaps she mentions a man from her past or tells you she's too busy to see you. Most men would argue or plead, but the man of depth simply looks at her, perhaps with a faint, knowing smile, and says nothing at all. Or he says the most devastatingly honest thing possible. I hope you find exactly what you're looking for. There is a profound beauty in a man who is willing to let a woman go. Most men hold on so tight that they crush the very thing they love. They treat a woman like a captive bird, terrified that if they open their hand, she will fly away. But the Stoic knows that you can only truly keep what is free to leave. When you look at her and communicate, through your words and your ease, that your life is a grand adventure with or without her, you become a destination she never wants to depart. This is the investment paradox. We do not value what we are given for free. We value what we have to work for. We value the ground we had to hike miles to reach. When a man is too available, too agreeable, and too eager to please, he becomes cheap. He is the heir, everywhere, and forgotten. But the man who values his own time, his own mission, and his own peace above all else becomes the gold. Think about the weight of your own attention. If you give it away to every passing whim, it is worth nothing. But if your attention is a reward for her best self, she will move mountains to earn it. I have seen men who were not particularly handsome or wealthy command the absolute devotion of incredible women. They didn't do it with money. They did it with a refusal to be manipulated. When she was cold, they didn't become hot to compensate. They became colder. They mirrored her energy with a gentle, detached grace. They showed her that they are not a puppy waiting for a scrap of affection, but a lion who eats when he chooses. This isn't about being cruel. It is about being real. It is about having a spine made of iron and a heart made of honesty. There is a specific kind of truth-telling that acts like a key to a locked door. It's when you say the thing that everyone else is too afraid to say. Most men will flatter a woman even when she is being difficult. They will tell her she's right when she's clearly wrong. But the man she will never forget is the one who looked her in the eye and said, "I don't like the way you're speaking to me right now. Let's talk when you're feeling more like yourself." In that moment, her ego might flare, but her respect for you will reach the stars. You have shown her that you are a man of boundaries. You have shown her that your self-respect is more important to you than her temporary approval.
And for a woman, there is nothing more intoxicatingly attractive than a man who cannot be bought. We live in a world that tells men to be soft, to be supportive at the expense of their own dignity. But deep in the ancient primal parts of the human brain, a woman doesn't crave a fan, she craves a leader. Not a tyrant who dictates, but a leader who is so secure in his own skin that he doesn't need her to tell him he's doing a good job. She wants to be the one to discover the softness inside your strength. She doesn't want it handed to her on a silver platter. She wants to earn the right to see the man behind the mountain. When you speak to her, stop trying to be interesting. Start being interested in the truth. Stop trying to make her feel something for you and start focusing on how you feel about yourself when you're around her. If she brings out a version of you that is small, needy, or anxious, then she is not the right woman for your journey, and you must be willing to say that. The most attractive trick in the world is the absolute, unshakable belief that you are the prize. Not in a way that is loud or arrogant. Arrogance is just a mask for insecurity. No, I mean a quiet, deep-seated knowledge that your presence is a blessing, that any woman who gets to walk beside you is lucky to see the world through your eyes. When you believe that in your marrow, you don't need to learn what to say. The right words will flow from your mouth like water over stones, clear, cold, and life-giving. You will find yourself saying things that are heart-touching because they are raw. You will tell her she is beautiful not because you want her to like you, but because it is a fact you felt like sharing. And because you don't need her to say it back, the compliment will actually mean something. Now, as we stand at the threshold of the final part of this mystery, I want you to ask yourself a very difficult question. If she walked away tomorrow and never looked back, would you still be the man you are today?
As we arrive at the final horizon of this journey, we must confront the truth that lies beyond attraction, beyond the games of power, and beyond the mirror of the ego. There is a destination most men never reach because they are too busy looking at the woman to notice the world they are building around them. This is the secret of the legacy line. It is the realization that a man's greatest allure does not come from how he treats a woman, but from how he treats his own destiny. Throughout history, the men who have been most haunted by the devotion of others were those who had a purpose that was larger than any individual. When your life is centered on a mission, whether it is your craft, your family's future, or your own spiritual evolution, you develop a sense of inevitability. You are going somewhere. And because you are going somewhere with or without the approval of those around you, you become a force of nature. A woman's attraction to you in this state is not a choice, it is a biological response to a man who has mastered his own environment. The greatest tragedy of modern romance is the man who makes a woman his mission. He studies her likes and dislikes as if they were the laws of physics. He rearranges his schedule to fit hers. He suppresses his own ambitions to ensure she never feels neglected. And in doing so, he becomes invisible. He loses the very edge that made him a man in the first place. You must understand that a woman does not want to be your world. She wants to be the queen of the world you are already conquering. She wants to look at you and see a man who is so rooted in his own legacy that his love for her is an act of overflow, not an act of starvation. This brings us to the most difficult phrase a man must learn to embody. It is the unspoken conviction that says, "I love you, but I don't need you to survive." This is not an act of coldness, it is an act of supreme honesty. When you don't need her for your survival or your self-worth, your love for her becomes pure. It is no longer a trade, it is no longer a manipulation, it is a gift. And because it is a gift from a man who could survive perfectly well in the wilderness alone, it carries a weight that can move mountains. I want you to consider the difference between a man who is a fan and a man who is a flame. A fan circles around the light, desperate for a spark, but a flame simply burns. It provides warmth to those who are near, but it does not chase the cold.
If you want to be the man who is instantly and permanently attractive, you must become the flame. You must cultivate a life that is so rich, so disciplined, and so meaningful that the thought of losing it is more terrifying to you than the thought of losing a woman's attention. There is a quiet, heart-touching moment that happens when a woman realizes she has met a man of legacy. It's the moment she sees you working on your craft late at night, or when she sees you stand by your principles even when it costs you something. In that moment, she realizes that you are not for sale. She realizes that she cannot own you because you belong to your mission. And strangely, it is only then that she feels she can truly belong to you. She finds peace in your strength because she knows that a man who won't betray himself for her will never betray her for the world. As we close this reflection, remember that psychology and philosophy are not tools to control others, but tools to master yourself. The trick was never about her. It was always about the man in the mirror. It was about finding the courage to be silent, the strength to be honest, and the wisdom to be independent. When you walk through life with the heart of a poet and the soul of a stoic, you don't have to chase attraction. Attraction will follow you like a shadow on a sunny day. You will speak, and your words will land with the weight of stones. You will look at a woman and see the soul behind the eyes, and because you are not afraid of what you see, she will finally feel seen. You will offer her a love that is a choice, not a chain. And as you continue on your path toward your own legacy, you will realize that the most beautiful thing about being a man of depth isn't that you can have any woman you want, it's that you no longer feel the need to chase them. So, as you go back into the world, do not look for a woman to complete you, look for the mission that defines you. Build the kingdom that sustains you, and let the right woman find her way to the fire you have built, not to save you from the cold, but to share in the warmth of a man who is finally, truly himself. The mountain does not call to the climber. The climber is simply unable to stay away.